All right, it is 7 p.m. on March 16th, 2021, and we are going to open the special meeting of the committees of committees, replacing committee of committees. You do roll call, please.
Yep. I have trustees Chris Samples.
Here.
John Talbot.
Here.
William Luxinger.
Here.
Dina Simpson.
Here.
Jen Christensen.
Here.
Jared Doan.
Here.
President Rick Worm.
Here.
Treasurer Brenda Onabany.
Here.
I Clerk Sandy Mazem here. Attorney Dan Bolin.
Here.
Public Works Supervisor Brett Fergie.
Here.
Park Supervisor Nathan Hill.
Here.
All right. Entertain a motion for the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve February 16th, 2021 Committee of Committees minutes.
Second.
Jen makes a motion to approve the February 16th, 2021 committee of committee meeting minutes. Jared seconds. Is there any discussion? Being that we're still under COVID rules, roll call.
Jen.
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Dina.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
William.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to the officers. Does anybody have any questions on the fuel or water reports? All right. Something I have that's not on the agenda was there seemed to have a lot of, what should you really call them? Prowlers around town over the weekend. Seems to be a movement for a community watch. I think that'd be a really good idea, and hopefully they will move forward with that, and we can support them in that. Everything from a car being taken to people's cars being gone through, and it's getting kind of silly.
Where did the community watch movement end up before? It seems like we've heard that before, and it always dies out for some reason.
Last year, we talked about it, but nothing moved forward.
There was one a few years ago that had met here at Village Hall, but that was strictly for the Rolling Meadows section of town.
Oh,
And I'm not sure what came of that.
But based on, Sandy and I were talking before the meeting, and based on the areas that are being targeted mainly seems to be along the tracks. It seems that, and then with where the car was found over the weekend, it almost seems like they're coming through, and that'd be my guess, but be interesting to get a watch together. Neighborhood watch. Move on to the clerk.
The only thing I have on there is the FOIA report. I just received a FOIA regarding a vacant abuse property in town this last month, and that's it. That's all I have on the agenda.
Treasurer.
I have nothing at this time.
Go to the committees, community development and events.
That's me.
The party.
That was fast. I have the Easter drive-through this Saturday from 2 until 4. And I'm gonna do it the same way I've done the fall one and the Christmas one. Drive up through and I will hand a goodie bag to your children.
I know Dina and I ask this all the time. Do you need any help?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can you talk to me after this?
Yep,
event?
I will.
Thank you.
And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is I've been getting interest on when we possibly would start up our farmer's market. Because I have some vendors that kind of want to get dates on their books or so they know and stuff like that. So I said I would, that we hadn't talked about it yet and stuff, not knowing what obviously our guidelines would be again and stuff like that, but that's just something that's been brought to my attention with phone calls and stuff, so I don't know.
Has it seemed like there's been more than like last year? Does it
Yeah.
seem like you're getting more already?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
And, because, I mean, when I had talked to some of the people last year, you know, just interest in, and I'm trying to get interest out there because I really want to try to nab those food vendors and anybody that may be going anywhere else before they commit to other places. And I know us with keeping it on Wednesday nights where there's not a lot of other stuff going on. So, and I do know that I had talked to some people that live in Stillman Valley and they had no idea that we even had one. So I'm like, okay. And another question I have, Sandy, for you is, have we ever advertised in the Old County newspaper?
For the farmer's market?
Yes.
I want to say the first year, but I don't think we have.
Because I know there's
this
just some
year.
people that are like, oh, they're like, I bet you could get, like different vendors or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess that's not one thing. I guess because last year it was thrown together so fast.
Yeah.
I did it that
We could give it a try.
and that, but does anybody have any suggestions or?
What would
Maybe-
be your max vendors, or let's say we get a big, how many can we hold, do we know?
A lot.
That's always a good number.
I mean, last
I was
year,
just curious.
Very non-committal.
I mean, last year I had like only like 2 food vendors. And that was because I couldn't, they either were already had already had their, they already had committed to other places, or the one had issues with staffing because of
Yeah, I
COVID. They
remember.
couldn't get staff, they couldn't, and they worked full-time jobs. So for them to try to get here off their full-time job
I get it.
was hard.
I just didn't know if you had a number that you like to work with as the maximum.
I mean,
That's fine.
I go around to different farmers markets and I kind of stock out food vendors per se, not,
It's good to know.
I know there's a couple other ones that want to come down and try, so I'll get
right.
their name.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like, I want to get them out there and,
No big deal.
Because I've talked to Walk and Roll and Jamaican Jerk.
and I'm on the hunt for a taco truck too.
3 for $5 won't come out?
That's who I'm trying to
They're a good-
persuade.
They have multiple trailers.
Has anybody called, like, I know, like, we're talking food trucks and whatnot. Has anybody called to give like more of the, like, produce end of things and like, just like literally, like, I just wondered if there'd be some people that actually that maybe had gardens and be bringing more
Well, I know
stuff.
there's some people that did and then there's some that stopped.
Yeah,
Is there-
There's been, I think it all depends on the type of season they have.
okay.
Do you think Tom would have any connections to that through the fair? The people that might do that?
There's an organic farmer in Oregon, it's possible, but like, they don't even come out to the fairgrounds to do that because people come to them, so they don't go out to
Right,
others.
and
Like,
and
if that makes
and that's
sense?
what it is.
Yeah, I
And
could
another
ask.
type of person I've been trying to find is, I've been to other ones like, and obviously it's Madison and stuff like that, and Beloit has a really good one, is somebody that has like fresh flower bouquets, just,
Oh,
like
yeah.
a
There's an
simple,
awesome one in Beloit.
there's also a lady who does that south of town. I'll hook up with you after the meeting and get you her info, but I see it on Facebook occasionally doing.
yeah, I mean, and he doesn't have just, just a 5, 6, up to $10, bouquet, I mean, that, I've seen them, they have them in pails, 5-gallon pails, and they just go up and they're already done up and you just,
Mhm.
and
awesome.
or even, like a plant. And one year we had, or I think it was for a couple of weeks, we had a truck that came and it had like big, like plants on it too. And I have no idea where
I
they were
remember
from.
that. Yeah, that was,
Just trying to find different things. I guess that's kind of what I'm out there, is a variety of.
And if you know what your dates are, we can start.
Well, and then that's what I want to
advertising
do, is I want to grab people up. So if we can
Yeah.
get our date set of when we want to start, or I mean, I can even put some feelers out there, or even get something on the Davis, on the farmer's market, Facebook page to feel on what, vendors would like to see as a time. And I know we've always waited till July because of produce, but if I had a different, a variety of vendors, we could almost get going sooner, but.
Maybe we'll reach out to our neighboring communities, see if they'll put it up there for us too.
And one of them will at this
Well,
point.
sure.
So, yeah. We've discussed sharing each other's events before. And I actually have lunch next week with Byron as well, so I could even ask if they'd be interested, but that
They're
might be
larger.
competitive with theirs.
Right.
What about when we get to that point, put a banner up at 72 and
Yeah, I
251?
mean, we have the banner.
yeah.
We have the banners. It's just a matter of getting the date put down and getting vendors to be
Yeah.
able to commit that soon. That's where I think where we're gonna be stuck on. And stuff.
And use your social distancing signs that we had made.
Yeah, and we had made for the fair. And then I had also, another idea that I had tossed around last year was, with vendors speaking, was trying to get a form of music
That'd be
or
great.
something out there, some like, 'cause obviously we don't have a speaker system or something, but just music.
Still
Oh.
has something.
type of, just even if, we had, people who like to dabble in singing, or just even high school kids that can play an instrument, or
Set up a busking area.
so,
You know,
I don't know what that is.
just a place to sit and play music.
yeah,
Change.
Oh.
freelance.
Right. Just come play on their own.
Open mic.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
That'd be kind of cool.
Set up a little mic and whoever wants to come and play.
You might be able to achieve what you want without much effort,
Spend a dime.
right? And tell them that you could set it up where it's like you have half-hour increments or something like that that they could play, and
And you mentioned the high school band, like, not the band, but like bands, like the kids getting together and
Yeah.
whatnot. If they brought, like, that'd be a great place for people to hear them and bring
Yeah,
their
I mean, if
business
they had,
cards,
like, you
and
know,
people might
yeah.
get their name out there.
If they had duets or.
Yeah.
You know. we
but it would have to be small
Barbershop
kind of-
quartet.
acoustic,
Pretty cool.
because we press.
And then when you're eating, you have something to listen to.
Right, or keep people, people always come and take it and leave, and it's like, and now with all of our events that we're gonna have going on now, I wanna grab as many as we can to.
Mhm.
Or maybe a decent sized speaker that takes Bluetooth, plays music off that.
You
We
what?
have them at work. It's like a speaker. It's probably about the size of that. And you can hook it up to your phone and play whatever music you want to, which there's a lot of noise in the warehouse, but it picks up pretty good sound.
I've got a spare sitting upstairs. We can come up with something.
cool.
We'll figure
All
it
of
out. I think it's a good idea.
I
Get
think
somebody out,
it's a
just
good
leave a place for people to play if they want to come sit and play, and there's a lot of talented people out there.
That's all I had.
All right, finance,
Nothing.
ordinance enforcement,
Nothing at this time.
parks.
I'm gonna turn it over to Nate tonight. Nate, you wanna kind of recap all this for us?
And I will punt to Dan, but just as a background. Dan, you ready there? Just real quick. Yeah, so we did receive the agreement from Graham, and then Sandy, doing her diligence, sent it along to Dan, and he reviewed the agreement. And there's some comments here, so I'll let him go through them. But I will note that it came in well under my expected budget, so that's good. But because of the logistics of the pond engineering, we have to kind of come up with a concept first, and then we can engineer it. So it doesn't include final engineering for a pond design, but this is the park master plan component of it and preliminary engineering for the pond. So with that, I'll let him cover the legal aspects of the agreement.
Sure. And I know Nate's been working on this for a while, and I don't know how much or how little you all know about the selection process under the Professional Services Selection Act. And that's the procedure that Nate and Sandy followed to get this proposal in front of you today. And what they basically did is they put out a request for qualifications. They received responses from that RFQ, and they ranked those responses. And I think where we are now is that the village is negotiating with the top ranked firm. And so what you have in your packet is the proposed contract from the top ranked firm. And so, we're still negotiating. This is for your review and comment, and happy to answer questions about the contract. Keep in mind, if we don't reach a successful contract with this top ranked firm, it goes to the next one, and the next one's down the line is how the process works. So as far as the contract, I don't know if Sandy shared my comments with all of you. In that case, I'll just kind of at a high level, without getting into too much detail. There's just some terms that we would suggest that we follow up with Graham on. If paragraph 3 in the contract, they've got some late payment penalty terms. Of course, there's already a Local Government Prompt Payment Act that works better with the way that you guys have meetings and ordinarily pay bills, and has a lower interest late payment penalty, that's something that we would suggest for a village client. Fairgram might be able to demand higher penalties from their private sector clients. In paragraph 7, it's got is another example of that they've got language about leaning property what for unpaid fees. That's not something that they can really do to the village, and so the language in there that the village would pay enforcement costs for this lien that they can't really have in the first place. That whole paragraph we would suggest taken out of there.
Ian, hold on. Rick, keep going. It's past the signature page.
Okay.
Sorry, Rick was trying to.
Trying to figure out which paragraph he's on.
No,
I'm like,
you're-
I'm on
yeah.
7.
Oh shoot.
You're good, Ian.
Oh, okay. And then there's other comments too about paragraph 16. What insurance is going to be appropriate under the agreement? That's not really defined. At a minimum, you should know what you're getting into. But seeing his the kind of contract it is, we wouldn't necessarily insist on the village being named as an additional insured, since they're not really digging dirt or anything like that. It's just doing drawings. But it'd be good to know what kind of insurance they have before you get into this. And then a couple other things that we just wanted to point out. They probably won't budge on, but you should just be knowledgeable of. Paragraph 17, the reliability limit is going to be the contract amount. So they won't be liable for more than the amount of the contract. That's something that we've seen in other professional service agreements. But you should just know about that. And I'm just trying to hit the highlights, and maybe paragraph 12 is another good one to mention. They would own the documents that they prepare. We would suggest that the village also jointly own the documents, since they are preparing them for you, and they are not allowing or requiring the village to indemnify them for any third-party use of the documents. I think the idea is that this is just a master plan, and that, as Nate mentioned, when you get into construction, you have to actually make construction documents for what's going to be done. What this is just a planning document, so they wouldn't want like a builder to rely on what they prepared here. So those are just some highlights to point out. We have a few other minor comments, but happy to take questions or direction on what to do with these comments. We'd be happy to follow up with Fairgram or staff can, or whatever your pleasure.
Sandy, would you be able to follow up with Fairgram on? this
Yeah,
one?
Nate and I can work together to follow up with
maybe-
them. So based upon receiving Dan's comments and wanting to make the changes that he suggested, because I didn't see anything in his response that was egregious. And so I think we're just going to ask Fairgram. And so even though it is on your agenda tonight for approval, we would ask that we just not.
So you'll work on that.
Have the changes made and then
Yeah.
approve it at
Yeah.
that point?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go
Yeah.
back to them, see
Mhm.
what we can concede on, and
Yeah.
address some of these, and then bring it.
Bring it
Yeah.
back when it's
So
ready.
you might see it again next week. I would not put it on the consent agenda if you do see it again next week, but just please keep an eye on your board packet for it.
This might be kind of a weird question, but do they have an idea? So like looking at that as like I guess I would consider it the preliminary costs for the plan itself.
Sure.
When they talk about getting into that's just an overlooking plan for
Mhm.
what it is going to be to get deeper into it. Do they have an idea moving on to the next phase, an approximate cost, like for the engineering piece of that? Does that make sense?
I can get I might be able to get an estimate, but it depends upon the concept that we come up with and how
Okay.
that would change. So if we want a really deep pond that's really big, obviously it might be a different cost. but not significantly.
Okay.
So I
I
can
just
try
didn't know
to
what to
get,
expect. I
Yeah.
was curious.
yeah,
yeah.
considering I budgeted a lot more than this, I have some monies in this
There's
year's
some wiggle
budget
room.
and then budgeting for next year. We should be good to cover it, but I can try to follow up and see generally what it would be
Curious.
to do a full engineering of the pond based on kind of our general concept so far.
Okay.
And,
Does that
and even get
seem
another
what we-
proposal for that. I mean, it's,
I mean, if anybody else is not concerned about, I was just curious, since it had come under on this, if it would be too much to ask for an idea of what the remainder, because right now it did sound like a very reasonable price when I looked at it, but then not knowing what the
I
down
guess
the
my,
road piece.
my question is I mean, they're establishing a master plan. So that mean this is, laying out a topographical survey and then the soccer field you want, removing the
Yep.
dirt and
Yep.
rearranging things.
yeah, it's all of the various improvements that we've discussed over the past and that we're in. And then the other thing moving forward, I would need John, myself, and another trustee or anybody else who's willing to participate to kind of be on a committee to kind of oversee that and work with the engineering firm to provide the specific guidance on what types of features and modifications. Because I've given them, the general overall scope of things that we've discussed and that were in Kenny's files and that we've discussed here. But
I didn't
yeah,
s-
they're
I didn't
gonna
see in here, what's the
inlay it.
timeline to complete the master plan?
I don't have a specific date of starting or completion.
So am I to read this and understand it that kind of want to do the master plan before they do the engineering of the pond? To determine the size, everything, all that.
Where,
So-
yeah, if we do a fourth diamond, how's that going to push things and what?
So
And
I
then they
don't
can,
know, and this is just my opinion, I don't know how much longer we can delay that engineering of that pond.
sure. And I can,
The
we,
work needs to start.
sure. And I talked to Fairgram. I said, we can chew gum and walk at the same time. So we can do multiple things. So I can get them started on, like Dina said, we can get them started on
When
that.
you guys follow up with them, ask them for a timeline, when this will
Yeah.
be completed.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
But until we know what we really want to do with the pond, because, originally we had a little bit more elaborate plans because we thought there was other monies that were going to come in and stuff. So do you really know what you want to do? Like, like Nate says, your depth, your size, are you going to have, how's it going to look? It's tough to get cost.
I mean, your
There's some
your
home,
first criteria still has to be, it has to handle the water runoff from the fields.
that's
That's the number one thing. it has
That's
to
the
do.
biggest thing is the homework for the hydrology
Right.
on capacity.
Secondarily, it'd be
soils, and-
nice to see it deep enough that we could stock it.
Yeah.
That way the residents could use it if they want to.
And I've seen some of the previous engineering concepts and projects and stuff, and they're a much different kind of take on the guidance that I think we've talked about or whatever. So, yeah, I think we can, if there's other people who are interested in meeting with them and helping develop this concept once and focusing in on the pond, that being the linchpin, I think then we can in parallel start, get some numbers and start that engineer. Once we kind of come up with the general idea of what we want, we can have them start on engineering and get that going as well.
Because we've
I
had,
don't want to discourage you, but I mean, from my perspective, as one member on the board, I would just ensure that the master plan is built in phases, so to
Yeah,
speak,
yeah, we're gonna phase
And,
in and with
maybe-
like a menu of,
maybe scaled down.
sure. Yeah, we can focus in on, well, and that's where, having myself, John, and any other trustees who want to participate, we can laser focus in on those real big priorities. Obviously, the pond being another, fourth diamond. Stuff like improving the skate park, enlarging the concession stand, adding another soccer field, those are later down the line as far as priority. But it would be nice to have a huge menu of projects, what they potentially would
It
cost
is,
that we
however,
can choose from.
it's my experience that when we do it in that fashion, when you start getting down to item 3 or 4 of a 10-item list,
Sure.
you're gonna end up paying to do the work again anyways, because it's old and outdated.
Well, the final engineering, yeah, it's an estimate. So, those are estimates compared to what final engineering will be, 5-10 years down the line. But yeah, that's where this planning would hopefully narrow down some really firm projects that we can outline within the next 5 years and budget for.
It would also help in the years where you might not have enough to do one of the bigger projects. If you had a price for a smaller one and knew where it's gonna go,
Yeah.
you could move that direction.
Yeah, like a small,
The linchpin is the
Pond.
pond itself, and you, without knowing what you want to do to the
Chris.
entire park, without knowing what you want to do throughout the entire park, and, you know, unless the only thing you're doing is the pond, which may end up what happens, but, you know, in the future, you never know what's going to happen. So, you know, if you have the entire plan and, you know, the pond engineered as you'd like the plan to go, you're one step ahead. I like your proposal. I have no issues with it, except for I would like to know, like Dina does.
Yeah.
You know, what it's gonna cost us for them to engineer the pond. You know, I'd actually like them to, maybe if they could give
Is
us
that
a,
what's not in here? Preliminary engineering, 6,800? Is that-
that's the hydrology study it's kind of the, you know, concept, not like final engineering plans and that kind of stuff to go out to build, but
doesn't
enough
matter.
to know what,
Construction Engineering.
Because a lot of that's gonna come from what we wanna see in the pond.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So that was the discussion we had with them when I said, ooh, that you only have, you know, preliminary engineering. And we were like, well, what do you want to see first? And then we can go from there. I said, that makes sense.
Well, what we'd want to see though, doesn't that depend on how much we're willing to spend?
Well,
On the master
Well-
plan you're talking about.
No,
No, on
I'm
the
talking about on the
pond.
pond.
referring to the pond.
Yeah, I mean, we can spend, yeah, we could spend $1 million or 250,000. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, you're gonna have to set a number, well, you know, depending on what you want, you need an estimate on that, so you know what you're gonna spend. I mean, what, today, right now, what are we willing to spend on engineering?
Again,
pond?
with Williams Point, we need the time for the engineering. We need to have that.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll
Right,
follow up
open
with
to
those
their aspect.
and follow up with Fort Graham and get back to
But
everybody.
you can't know what you want the pond for until you know how much money you're willing to spend.
Well,
I mean, what are you gonna tell them? I want it 20 feet deep and, you know, half an acre or whatever the estimates are. I don't know and you know, that's not
Right.
really a concern for the moment, but without knowing what you want to do, I don't know how you'd know.
You're asking how to build a house within the budget, right?
I'm asking what the budget is to build a house. And if you
Depends
don't
on
have
what
a
kind of house
budget,
you want.
yeah. I mean, I can say I want a 20-foot deep pond, which is great, but if I can't afford to get a 20-foot deep pond, the engineering on it's worthless. You know, if I can afford to get a 15-foot deep pond, then maybe that's what you go.
I think at a bare minimum, the pond needs to be able to handle the runoff. So that would be a starting point. This would be the least amount of money we're gonna spend. The Cadillac was where it was dug deep enough and it had all this landscaping with different buffers or stone or whatever,
We design
depending what type
needs
of wall, what type of stone.
Yep.
That would be your Cadillac. So you
Absolutely.
just,
So you
You just-
design to need first, right?
Yeah.
Like
just
Williams.
start at the bare minimum.
We've had everything from irrigation in it to,
Yeah.
And that gives us a starting point to launch off with. You have the need first, that gives us the ballpark
Yep.
of knowing what we need and then going from there.
Because this
Because
is,
you're budgeting for pieces of it over the next period of years. So then we would know, like, if you budgeted this much for whatever the park that we're doing or the pond, then we would know, okay, obviously that we can go upgrade a little bit there from whatever you're budgeting, I would assume, depending on what that is.
Yeah.
Since
I would
don't know what
assume
is.
that the engineers could tell you if you actually instituted all those upgrades, how deep the pond or how big or big and deep the pond would need to be to accommodate everything.
and always the dirt work's cheaper than anything. It's the building that costs money.
So I will follow up. I appreciate the feedback. It's good,
Thank you.
good stuff.
Anything further, John?
no.
Streets,
Can we
Oh.
go back to ordinance enforcement?
back to ordinance.
No, because I just had some stuff come to my phone. I had people complain about ATV, like noise and stuff, and they said that they called Village Hall too.
We got an email
There's an
from, yeah,
email.
we got an
Okay.
email about it too.
Okay, so I just was like, okay.
You good?
Yeah,
All right.
I wanted to be able to say it so they knew that I said something, so
Nothing.
I don't know if anything.
Unless Fergie has something, I have nothing.
Streets, utilities,
And we talked about the HVAC earlier. I think Fergie has a quote in there. And then there's the piece in there about, oh my gosh, the EDI, the membranes for the, I want to say diffuser, I was going to say digester, but yeah. So And if anybody's wondering, like, not on that quote, that's the HVAC, and I think that's what Fergie talked about before. But if you're wondering, on the one with the membranes for the diffuser, the idea is, I think we are getting them for this and the one that's coming up as well, largely because I remember, I want to say 5 years ago when we did this before, they are super hard to get. And so the vendor actually has enough for us to do both digesters. That's why I wanted to say. So we're actually planning on getting them for both, because the problem is they're almost, like what we have on that sheet right now, we could call tomorrow and find out they don't even have half of that is our problem. So we're trying to be a little proactive here and having what we need to have on hand so we can do the next one. I don't know when you said to do the next one. I can't remember.
We're either going to try to do it this fall or the next time that we empty out lots in just fall. So we just emptied out. So it'll either be the next time or either this fall or next spring. It just
Okay.
depends.
So we'd rather have them here. I'm sorry. Well, that, yeah, oh, well, essentially, yes. So William's pointing out to me, FYI, doing this is saving $700. And yes, he is correct. Thank you, William. But we're also doing it because in however many months when we wait, we might find out they don't even have them. So like, yeah, I'm doing it because of the not having them. He's doing it because of the $700. So, you know,
Yes. And
just
I did
saying.
call this morning, they're sitting at 91 in stock. So basically I'm going to take 86 of them.
Yeah, and so like when he calls tomorrow, there might be
They
like
may
80.
not be exactly-
It's, and I remember this, and we were talking last week, I remembered the phone call about 5 years ago, I was down in Peoria. And I remember exactly like from the conversation we had on the phone when I was in Peoria, and we waited until when I got back, they were already short. So I don't want to do that again. So between the money and the proactive,
Yes. And just if anybody's interested, Rick, I did email you a picture of what we're actually talking about. Not that anybody wants to see it. When we do spend a good chunk of change, it's nice to have something to go with it. As long as everybody's got a strong stomach.
so, and I don't know if you want to add anything in terms of the HVAC.
Race
piece.
cars.
Yeah, and so what it does, the whole process gets rid of the disgusting
Yes,
stuff.
it's the black, basically the black.
That's the nicest way to put it. Through the ionization or the deionization process, it eats away at that, and it's gross, but
It digests.
the deionization process.
Anyway, that's what they are. It's the black. It's the
I know, I
black
can.
Pieces. There's 40 of them per digester.
It's
Thanks
so
for the
gross.
picture, Fergie.
That's what I do.
Well, we just want everybody to understand what that is all about.
Like a little hot cocoa.
And there's those membranes.
Let's not go there.
Well, and the membranes have this, like, it's like a tube that goes over, like a membrane that goes over the tube, and then there's little aeration, little holes in it.
Yes, it does.
And that it actually allows air in there and diffuses it, and that's the little ions eat away at the stuff. It's
Exactly.
the best generic way to explain it.
That is perfect.
And both of those are on the agenda tonight for approval because we're a special meeting.
So
Okay.
before discussion, motion, second.
Well, and so like I will make a motion in a second, but I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to the HVAC thing because I didn't really explain that as much, but we've talked about it.
Nope, it was actually, it's online as of today. They set it on the roof yesterday. And it's on the line today. We had no idea they were coming. So,
Okay, how we're on. So if you.
So
Rick,
no.
yeah, that's up to you.
Can I
guys.
borrow
Come and
yours?
get it.
And I'm gonna,
So yes, that was a surprise.
okay, thank you.
That works too.
William's gonna take care of that.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 21-10, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a quote from Miller Engineering Company for an HVAC unit and hail guard at well number 1
Second.
building.
Any amount
In the
of?
of
I don't know, it doesn't say it.
It's up there, complete.
There you go.
It's not the add-on, right?
In the
Okay.
amount of $6,508,
Gotta say how much it costs.
Plus the 200 for the hail cover, yeah.
plus
All right.
200 for the cover.
The 220, sorry. I don't have it in front of me, but if I remember.
Second page.
6,728.
Take it from the treasurer.
Yes.
All right, so William makes a motion to approve resolution number 21-09 in the amount of $66,728.
No,
Ten.
it's
2110.
2109, be 2110.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong one. 2110, you're correct. So William makes a motion to approve resolution number 21-10 in the amount of $6,728. John seconds. Is there any discussion? I wrote it right above 2110 too.
Why? Does that do with-
Where's the 250?
Hmm.
Where's the 250?
Got
One
me.
is for the hail cover.
Nobody else got it? Wait,
It's on the second page.
Sorry,
18.
I didn't mean to reach.
There you go. There's your hail guard.
That's a team effort there, Chris.
Sometimes it takes a
Why are you
team.
taking it from you? I didn't like, I didn't have a paper.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Jared,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Dina,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen.
Yes.
Motion passes at 7:36.
I make a motion to approve resolution number
I'm gonna circle this one.
21-11, a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a quote from HDSFM doing business as US Blue Book for purchase of a replacement membrane for digester at the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $3,481.
Second.
I don't think I gotta do that because this is a resolution.
Yeah.
William makes a motion to approve resolution number 21-11 in the amount of $3,481. Jared seconds. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
John,
Yes.
Dina,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Jared.
Yes.
Motion passes 7:36. Anything further, Dina?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Anything on unfinished business?
Dan, any update on my sidewalks? You're on mute.
I'll follow up with Mark on that.
Thanks. See, there's your update.
Public?
If you speak, I just ask that you come and talk into the microphone so that our recording devices can pick you up. Thanks.
And you can pick it up, you can pick it up and sit down.
Thank you.
You don't have to stand.
That's good. I don't have to stand?
No, you get to take the microphone with you.
No, that's fine, that's fine. I'm Susan Butt. I live on Santa Fe, and I come because of the ATVs behind our house. And Rick said that there was no liability insurance needed by the village. Because, and what did you say that was again?
I told her I didn't know if there was any liability on insurance because of tort immunity. If somebody was to get hurt on village property doing their own silliness.
I don't think that's right.
Dan Boland is our village attorney.
Mhm.
Dan,
Say there's always a loophole.
can you speak a little closer to the mic? You may not be
I'm
able to
sorry.
hear you otherwise.
Is it on?
It is on.
Okay.
Okay, and since I'm 6 foot from everybody, I think I can take
Yeah,
the mask
that's
down. Okay, there's always a loophole in every contract. There's always a loophole. So for somebody to say, I'm not going to come back on you, you're taking a real risk. The noise is atrocious. You can't have your windows or anything open. They're turning around in my yard. They're using the gravel road. Now, I don't know who does the upkeep of the gravel road. Does the village upkeep that?
And it's not a public roadway, but yes, we do upkeep it. It's ours.
It's the villages.
Yes.
Yes, but it's not a
the
public.
Taxpayers, it's
Yes.
everybody's.
Yes.
So I'm paying for them to turn around in my yard and tear it up. I don't appreciate that.
Oh, we don't like it either. Trust me.
Okay.
We've discussed the
Okay,
ATVs in
but
writing.
there are regulations to this on the state statutes.
Yeah, we agree.
Why
Yeah.
aren't we upholding them?
Well, we don't have a law enforcement
There's
unit here.
one
It
person you
doesn't
gotta,
make any difference if you have a law enforcement or not. Who's in charge? If you call somebody, who do I call to say it needs to stop? Which one?
Brian Van
controls
Vickle.
that?
Sheriff Brian Van Vickle.
It's the only law enforcement that can find them.
Okay, there are ways to stop them.
I would,
Not legally for us.
Not legally for you, but there are ways to stop this. If that is a private road, then I can put my vehicle back there and they're not going to come down to my house. The people living beside us can't even get out of their house. What is this for them?
I apologize for not understanding what you mean, like the people beside you can't
The
get out.
people
I'm not
beside us are-
understanding.
Where we come from, it's called a Scylla house. They're disabled. They're
Okay.
in wheelchairs. How do they get away from this noise? They're stuck in that house. It's not fair. And had we have known this was going on, I wouldn't have chose the house to live in. And I think the village needs to tell people when they're moving in, this is what goes on there. If you've got underage children driving a white ATV up and down for 6 hours, where's the parents?
Have you called the sheriff's department?
Where's I didn't know who to call. We haven't lived here that long, Chris, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
We haven't lived here. I didn't know what the rules were. But this is not good. This is not safe. If they run into my fence, every ATV should have to show insurance to you as a village. They should all have a stick.
That's only if we were to allow it.
And-
If they
and we
were
technically
allowed,
don't
then
allow it,
yes.
Yeah.
They're not allowed,
You're
so
so
they're
you're
already
not
breaking the
allowing it,
law,
but it's happening.
but they're already breaking the law.
Okay, so do you know who they are? Because I have pictures and I'm not afraid to put them out there. But this is ridiculous.
So I don't think, and so like and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think any of us disagree with what you're saying. Our not concern, our problem, our issue is none of us are law enforcement to enforce it. We don't
True.
disagree with you.
True.
So like for you to put the pictures out there, that still won't do anything
No.
other than sharing them with
But
the
I would
sheriff.
be more than happy to put my truck back there. I'll put Big Red back there. They can drive around it. The snowmobiles, you can close your windows and they're far enough out. But when you're coming down and turning around in my yard,
And so then that's where like, even if we wanted to come out and enforce it, we don't have any legal ability to do that, but like calling the sheriff. So especially if they were out there for 6 hours, definitely call the sheriff.
What
And
is his number again? I'm sorry.
Does
anybody, I don't know.
911.
I can look, yeah. Hang on.
911?
No, I would call
No.
911.
I would,
Not
yeah.
emergency.
Yeah,
They
they
do.
have-
I'm gonna see if I have the Ogle app
Doesn't
on
matter.
here.
It's the same person that answers the phone.
And I really feel sorry for the people.
815
because they just have no
confused,
place to
I
go.
have.
Right.
It
You're-
is
Got it.
815-732-6666.
Okay.
You're not alone either.
And a conservation officer can come and take care of
That's
this.
the sheriff.
Yeah.
That's the Ogle County
Yeah,
Sheriff.
That is
it is.
what it is.
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not a.
We don't have a
conservation officer,
separate-
They're the
yeah.
Ogle County
Okay,
Sheriff.
so you don't agree with it and you can't enforce it. So they just do the.
so, well, and see, here's the issue I tried to explain to you on the phone is we've talked about putting
For
rules on them and having
how
a
long,
program for them to do it. But you're still gonna have those same people who are breaking the rules,
Mhm.
break the rules, and we still have no way to enforce it.
I don't know.
So even,
So you're basically saying you can't do anything about it. It's just the way.
We're
it is.
saying law
No,
enforcement.
we're not saying it's just the way that is. What we're asking is, and we've been asking this for quite some time, and like you said, you're new to the area, whatnot.
Uh-huh.
And we still have the same thing. We have a lot of people posting a lot of stuff on Facebook and being very frustrated and very upset.
Mhm.
But
That's why I came here first.
no, and I appreciate that big
That's why I
time.
came here first.
Because like everybody posts on Facebook and thinks somebody else is gonna take care of it, but nobody's calling the sheriff. Nobody's calling the actual law enforcement
And by
agency,
the time he gets here, they're going to be gone.
not if they're out there for 6 hours, like you just mentioned, right? I mean, they're still there. And if you do have like a picture of it and you know where they're coming from, because I think a lot of people might, know.
I'm sure we all know where they're
Okay.
coming from with the white ATV. I'm sure there's not that many around here.
So then
A
I,
little person driving it.
and I think, and technically what happens with the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office will have to forgive me for saying this, is generally when it becomes a constant phone call to them and it's constantly being called and done and done and done, they tend to react more. Whereas where putting on Facebook, and then this is, again, sorry to the sheriff's office, but putting on Facebook doesn't do anything. And they don't
No,
respond to that
But
either.
it keeps people, to me, that would keep more people aware. And that means they're not out there alone. There's other people to join together because the more people that you get knowing
So
somebody's
years
out.
And so-
past- Years
Yeah,
past,
I,
every spring, we kind of had the same problem. And for 15 years, I've been here and it's the
Mhm.
same thing. And around May, they go out and, the community kind of polices them and we kind of address it and then they comply. And then we have a very good
Yeah.
summer. It's a cyclical thing every year, but
Okay.
this year,
it's
or
not
actually,
been
I say
exactly.
last,
well, the whole year
Last
because
year.
of COVID.
I mean, we talked to people and other people have talked to them and they turn around and they look right at your face and they said, F you, and they take off. And so they are blatantly and knowingly doing it, even after they have been politely
Yeah,
asked
where
to
we live,
stop.
there was no police.
So normally,
Policing there was no police officer.
And I don't want the residents either to get, I don't want the residents to put themselves in a policing mode. I want the residents to be calling the sheriffs left and right. So the sheriff
But-
needs to be, they need to make it a point
Is
to
there
be
any
in
chance of
Davis
hiring
Junction.
A police officer like on their days off here?
We've discussed that.
We've discussed that too.
And there's no money for that?
Well, it would depend on what people want to pay for that. That's the other
That's
conversation.
usually what it comes down to.
And we've had that
it's
conversation.
not.
Yeah.
It's much, much bigger than money. It comes down to that when you issue somebody a ticket, they have a legal right to be adjudicated, which means we have to hold
A
a court
process.
hearing here.
Mhm.
We got to bring in the attorney. And then
Is
you
he-
have to.
Is he here every meeting?
No.
No.
Not every meeting, no.
Okay.
And then you have to have an agreement and house them somewhere in a jail. You have to have a contract for that. And then you have to have a contract with the communications place to dispatch your police officer. There's a slew of things that have to be followed.
Just, it's not just the police officer's salary, which if it was, it'd be kind of maybe a different conversation for us too. But I think a starting point, I think and we've had to the point where like, you know, Jared has put a list together of things that we could do in the village to enforce, but we still can't enforce it.
And like
And-
you said, you asked where the parents were if they're out there riding around for 6 hours.
They're with them.
And when you literally have the parent of one of these people on the ATVs saying that I've lived here all my life and they're not going to change my lifestyle, that's exactly what the child's going to learn to do.
Then I'm very sorry for this town because there's a lot of people here that have no respect.
I agree with that.
Yes.
It's a very sad thing.
And so
It's not
I'm,
all like that.
not every,
No.
and I will tell you, my belief.
majority
oh,
are not
I'm
like
sorry.
that.
Okay.
That's a small.
Would it be okay to finish what I was going to say though? Okay. I didn't know if you were just leaving or whatever. So,
I'm frustrated, so it's best that I.
and I understand
Because
that.
I understand, and our town was a lot smaller than this, and I understand the problems.
But I do want you to know that those on the ATVs are not the majority. They are not. I know it is annoying and it is very frustrating when people are not following the rules, myself included. I don't have an ATV, but I know like if every single one of us ever admitted all the things that we have done, maybe that we perhaps shouldn't have done or followed the rules not the way we should have followed them. But I will say that this community, that is not the majority of the people. That is a very, very small minority. But if the majority of the people that are frustrated by it make it a cause to call the sheriff, which nobody is doing, things could change. But it's not, everybody thinks somebody else is going to do it. That's why they keep on posting all the pictures out
Why
on
they put it on
Facebook.
Facebook.
Everybody is waiting for somebody else to do it. And people have got to stop waiting for somebody else to take care of it. And that's all I'll
And
say.
that-
I do
that-
appreciate you coming, and I'm sorry it wasn't a better answer.
That would actually probably be a better Facebook post to go along with this, is when you see it, call. Be the
And-
one that makes the call.
And don't be the person to post first, then call. Call, and then if you want to post at that point in time, be proud of the fact that, listen, you know, this is not okay for our community. And
And I guess my next thing is, I just have one more thing.
Can you move
If
closer
while
to the
they're
mic,
out there,
please?
I'm sorry, if while they're out there riding and they hit somebody else, because I take my dog out there, the neighbors take their dogs out there, then what are you going to do? What are you going to do then?
That's the one
Because you
concern.
have no liability out
It's a
there.
civil matter.
What happens then?
And that is one of the concerns we
We
keep
hope
coming
it
up with
isn't.
every single time we discuss this, is sooner or later, somebody's going to get
What does
hurt.
your attorney think can be done?
Daniel?
What happens if somebody gets hurt? What happens if they run into my fence? I'm not paying to replace it.
hey, Dan,
Yes,
were you able to hear her?
yes, I think William's right. I think William said it. It's a civil matter. That would be a claim between those private parties.
So if they hit my fence and they get hurt,
That's
and they
why-
have no insurance on that ATV,
But that's why you carry insurance, for stupid things. It's like on a car.
He's talking about for your fence, not their injury.
Not their injury.
I'm just saying.
Well, it's the same reason we carry car insurance for uninsured motorists. We
Right.
shouldn't have to carry uninsured motorists, but we
right?
have to
I totally agree.
protect ourselves.
I totally
So
agree.
that's why you have your insurances. to
That's
protect
when the
yourself.
loophole for the liability for the land will come back to you. And there's always a loophole.
What town did you come from, man?
Crescent City,
I don't think I know that one. Welcome.
where,
James.
do you know where Champaign is?
I do.
Do you know where Kankakee is?
Yes.
Right in between.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. And another, where is your farmer's market at? I listened to this.
Right
Oh,
down here,
we-
right down here.
We do it out here,
Okay, I
down
gotta
here,
remember where I am.
okay, so out here.
Dollar General and-
This is Lincoln.
This is Lincoln Street,
Oh, the street, okay.
and so we go
Just further
down
down.
here between.
Dollar
is it
General and the
Ma-
ball
is it
field.
Ma- Is it Maple?
Mabel.
I just say between Dollar General and the ball fields.
Moody and Park.
This is the only place on this side town
Oh,
I've
Moody,
been.
yes, it's on Lincoln between Moody and Park.
Okay.
By the ball diamond.
But yeah,
How about
but
ball
it's like
diamond?
the
And your
park
park is
area.
this way?
This
It's
way.
right behind
Right
us.
back here.
Oh.
It's
You
the
know,
whole thing.
Yeah, once
It's
you come
huge, the
down
whole
the street,
space.
you'll be
Right
able
by
to
the-
see
Good
it.
life.
The whole space is the
Once you
park.
come down the
Yeah, at least
street,
have to go see the
you'll
veterans.
be able to see everything.
Okay.
If you like to walk your dog, it's a beautiful, like,
One at a
on,
time.
in
There's a
addition
mile
to.
around path out there.
Well, I don't know if we make it to this side of town or not. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much.
It
Thank you
depends,
so
it
much for
depends on the
coming.
train.
You're welcome.
Oh, and thank you for whoever picks up the garbage and picks up the potties and everything out there. It's wonderful.
All right.
Very, very much.
I'll let
Thank
them
you.
know.
Thank you.
Glenda has joined us.
Glenda, do you have anything for public?
No, I don't.
Anybody on board have anything further before we go to closed session?
I'd just like to say, I had a resident say, to tell all the village workers, thank you for keeping up with and making the town look great. They very appreciate it a lot.
Awesome.
I told Fergie that the other day, and I'm pretty sure he told his guys. He said this is the best place he's ever lived, where they keep the grass cut and keep everything clean.
It looks good.
Do you see, anybody see that post from the folks that moved to Eastern Tennessee? They said that they were gonna, that it was a great place to live and they were gonna miss it.
Yep. Calzones. Yeah.
Yet they still left.
He got a
Always
new
for
job.
opportunities.
He got a new job.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good thing for them.
Are you ready for closed session?
We are.
I do have something, Rick.
Oh, go ahead, Glenda.
That's, Jared, that's why I put on the luncheon once a year and always send something down at Valentine's Day.
And it's
Linda?
always yummy.
Glenda,
Yes.
we could use fudge anytime.
Okay, I'll check my pantry and see if I have the ingredients.
It's always really yummy. Thanks, Glenda.
Thank you.
I'll
You're
make,
welcome. Peanut butter or chocolate?
Peanut butter.
Gina's overruling this one.
I think there was a faint chocolate in there. I'll see if I can do one of each.
I'm sorry, Glenda. I forgot it was for the workers. William reminded me that, like, I can't say peanut
Wait,
butter.
wait.
It's not for me.
Can we do Reese's?
I got a little carried away there.
That's all right. We're all entitled to.
All right, John.
motion to go into closed session under 2C5, the purchase or lease of real property for use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired.
I'll second that.
John makes a motion to go into closed session under section 2C5. Dina seconds. We gotta do roll call.
Yep. Dina,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Jared,
Yes.
John. And the time?
It is 7:53.
All right, we will be.
Entertain a motion to reconvene.
Reconvene open session.
Second.
John sort of made a motion to reconvene open session.
Sort of made a motion.
Chris seconded.
It was only sort of.
Roll call, please.
William,
Yes.
Jen,
Yeah.
Jared,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
It's more of
Dina,
a statement.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
We're back in open session at 8:03.
Uh,
We have nothing to follow up on in closed session. There's no action to take. Anybody have anything further before we close?
Let's get out of here. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
John makes a motion to adjourn. Chris seconds. Roll call.
Jen, Jared,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Dina,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
William.
Yes.
William is entertaining this evening.
We're adjourned at 8:04.